Travel's a pretty universal human experience or desire. I mean, at Buzzfeed we think about kind of niche content, which does really well because it's niche. And then we think about what we call evergreen content, which does really well because everyone's interested in it. And I think travel certainly fits into the latter of those two things. Travel content can also do well because we think about identity a lot, and clearly if you do stuff about particular regions or countries, that can really tap into how people use content to express who they are. The kind of ironic thing is, it's the companies or organizations or industries that don't feel most natural on the web that quite often do the best at it. So if you look at insurance brands do a wonderful job of creating really fun, exciting content. So compare the Meerkats in the UK, Geico in the US. They've never been able to kid themselves that what they're talking about is or what they sell is good enough to just put on the web. Travel companies, I think, struggle because of the reverse. They've always been able to get away with slightly average, self-centered content, whereas actually they need to be thinking about making it really interesting and exciting and relevant to consumers. The most important process is the realization that actually most people probably don't care about what you're doing in the way you're currently doing it. They could be very interested in what you're doing, but most of your advertising, most of your marketing, most of your comms is probably, and I can't speak for everyone, but probably pretty average and not very interesting. And that's, once you've got that realization, you've got an appetite to actually do something about it and create something really interesting and wonderful, most of the problems kind of go away. I think an interesting thing about the history of BuzzFeed is that invariably people have sort of ignored or dismissed what we're doing, and that's right from the beginning when we were just doing fun stuff, and big business and publishing companies thought what we were doing was silly. And then when we moved into more serious stuff, people thought we wouldn't be able to do that, and we've done very well at that. And then as we move into video and we've unveiled BuzzFeed Motion Pictures, people now think, oh, that's silly and that's overinflated, that will never work. And we've now got a real appetite to prove them wrong on that. So I think the only surprising thing is, I mean, it's nothing to do with me, God knows, but somehow the team that we've managed to hire are very good at kind of proving people wrong. The key thing is thinking about your audience and thinking about why people would share what you've created. So is it going to help them express who they are? Is it going to help them connect with their friends? Or is it going to help them entertain themselves? And I think if you can tap into those three things, then that will be a good starting point. I mean, there's a great book by a guy called Jonah Berger called Contagious, and in that he breaks down the reasons why people share, and emotion definitely does well. It's not so relevant for brands, but outrage tends to do very well. But that's not necessarily something that marketers can tap into. They do occasionally. Obviously, Dove tapped into outrage with the sort of Real Women campaign, and Unilever do it sometimes as well. I mean, Rethink Israel was a wonderful campaign, and it managed to both tap into people who had some sort of connection with Israel, but also people who didn't know something about Israel, and that reached a massive audience. That was definitely a successful and fun piece of content.